Fnatic's turn to ban.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Starladder Season 8. We are here live with Day 26 coverage on Beyond the Summit. I am Zyori, solo casting away today. We've only got 3 games coming up, but boy, is Game 1 a big one. Here we have Fnatic versus Sigma International. Now, this is one of these matches where we need to reference the standings, because this is a battle for the top 4. Right now, Fnatic sitting 10-3, currently in position 5. Sigma International sitting 11-4. Both teams very much still alive, fighting their way to make it into that top 4 to the offline LAN portion of the Starladder Season 8 Finals. Fnatic, well, I guess they could afford to drop this one. They would go down to 10-4. They'll have another match today coming up against Power Rangers as our second match today. So Fnatic could go 1-1 and still be in a solid position. That would make them 11-4. But Sigma International, folks, they need this one. They are 11-4. If they lose this, that will put them to 11-5. And with those 5 losses, going to be very difficult to maintain their seat in the top 4. It's not impossible, but improbable. So this is definitely a big one. Boys will be separated from the men. Who will take home the gold? The conclusion to that question coming up here. Going to be an interesting series, though, and by series I mean best of 1. Sigma International, a team pretty widely known as a epic team in the best of 1s. They're very scary on that front, because they do have a slightly different drafting style. They're not afraid to pull out some of those heroes that other teams dare not venture into.
Reserve time.
So it should be interesting. Gonna take it slow and steady today. It is cold here on the East Coast, guys. It is freezing. It is raining. Oh, man. A good day to stay inside, wrapped up under the blankets, playing a little bit of Dota. Glad to be here. And thank you for joining us. Like I said, 3 matches coming up today. Let's talk about this draft a little bit. Now, Sigma International, they've been switching things up a little bit. I was just about to say Bane probably going to be a choice here for one of their first picks. A hero that they absolutely love. I had the opportunity to talk to Mad himself the other day, and Bane, his absolute favorite choice. He is, I would argue to say, the best Bane player in the scene right now. He's pretty damn impressive. Those defensive nightmares, those aggressive nightmares, they love to run that Bane-Mirana combo. Though that duo has been sort of run into the ground, in my opinion, and I don't know that they're going to grab the Mirana here. I love the first pick Alchemist, a good bit of versatility, as we always go back to. Could be a mid Alchemist, could be a support Alchemist, and, well, could also be that position 1 Alchemist. A lot of options there. Fnatic starting off with a very Fnatic-like draft. They will grab Bristleback first, and they will second pick the OD. An interesting choice. They have been running OD a fair bit recently. Hani's OD is quite scary, quite impressive. And, well, not surprised to see OD mixed in, as much as I'm a little bit surprised just to see them second pick the OD here. They will have the opportunity to ban out some of the counters. They will take out Viper, may choose to ban out the Razor as well. 2 heroes that do stand pretty well against the OD. Of course, there are a handful of other melee heroes that do all right. The Dragon Knight, the Kunkka. But no one that really stands up to the power of the Outworld Devourer. No one that stops him from getting truly farmed and out of control. Fnatic, they've been loving the Bristleback recently as well. Everything looking pretty straightforward, though. All of Sigma.int's bans looking pretty straightforward. No Tails Enchantress, the CM that they do love to run as well. Of course, No Tails Wisp, and Trixie's Nature's Prophet. All heroes that Fnatic do like quite a bit.
5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Reserve time going to be used for Fnatic here. We'll see what they want to do with this final ban. I have to imagine Razor is an option. Sigma has run Razor at least a couple of times here in Starladder Season 8. We have seen it. And could be an option here. Though honestly, even though Razor is considered that quote-unquote hard counter to Outworld Devourer, it's not really that potent. Because teams, of course, know if there's going to be a Razor, they try and switch it up. And often we find that lane mismatch where OD ends up in the safe lane if Razor goes mid. And if you don't end up in the same lane as the OD, that Razor pick ends up being a little bit wasted. I mean, he's not a bad choice by any means, but I don't know. Sort of an odd pick. Even though that is that traditional hard counter, we've seen teams grabbing the Razor less and less against OD. And we see teams trying to find an edge in other places, set up ganks on the OD, grab aggressive supports, move around, push aggressively before OD can really take off. strategies like that, more so than trying to pick hard lane counters, seem to be a bit more effective. But very open-ended draft for Sigma. Fnatic don't have that same bit of leeway. Both the heroes that they've grabbed have, oh, Nelly, pretty defined roles, but they're going to grab the Slark here. So I'm going to take that back. I'm going to eat my words a little bit. Fnatic have a pretty open-ended draft here. Even though all three of these heroes only play a handful of roles, they all farm, they all do damage, they can be in a pretty different setup here, depending on how they want to run it. They could put Slark mid, and they could put OD in a solo safe lane type thing. They could put Slark in the off lane. They could put Bristleback in a position 1, picking up farm in safe lane. They could put Bristleback in the long lane. Hard to say exactly how they want this draft to set up. It's going to be very interesting to see the Slark here. It could also be a 1-position Slark. That very well could be Era's Slark. That's going to be my best guess. But we'll see. Fnatic obviously going to need supports here with their last few picks, and Sigma have done a pretty good job of banning out the supports that Fnatic like to run. Still going to be some on the table, of course, but with Alchemist and Bane already picked up, that does limit some of what Fnatic likes to play. Sigma, though, going to burn into some of their bonus time. We see this draft taking a while. Both teams recognizing a lot's on the line here. Going to put a lot of thought into this. Now, of course, Slark is pretty scary. We've seen a good bit of Slark play since he's been released in 6.79, and he can be pretty effective. We've really seen him to a varying degree of success. We've seen some teams really get out of control with the Slark, other teams not fare too well. And, of course, the reason for that is because he is a snowball hero. He's really the definition of a snowball hero. He needs that early momentum, but one of the great things about Slark is in that early to mid game, he can do a lot of damage without a lot of items. Really don't need a lot of items to hop in there and make it happen. That essence shift is pretty dirty. Stacking up that agility, you're hitting damn hard without too much. Gyrocopter will be the 3rd pick for Sigma.
10 seconds remaining.
Solid carry. Fnatic going to go ahead and grab themselves a Visage. How could I forget about Visage? Oh my, folks. No-tail hero still on the board. Of course, a solid pick. A little surprised to see Visage making it this far into the draft, to be perfectly frank. But Fnatic will stag him here. Kind of curious to see what they're going to grab with their final pick. Not too many options. That will be the no-tail hero. They could grab a nice aggressive support. This could be a pretty solid Lion game if they wanted to go something like that. Get a little bit of burst damage here. A little bit of crowd control as well. That is one thing this Fnatic roster is lacking right now. That is stuns. They've got the Astral from OD, which sort of counts as a disable. They've got the Leash from Slark. They've got all the slows from Visage, slows from Bristlebacks, but they don't have, from the Bristleback, singular. But they don't have any true stuns, which makes me a little bit nervous here. One of the reasons I think Lion would work really well into this roster. Give them 2 stuns. They could also grab a Nyx Assassin if that's the route they wanted to go, a hero that they do run on occasion. Now, Sigma going to grab the Abaddon here. Sort of an interesting choice. It's looking more and more like this will be either a position 1 Alchemist or a solo mid Alchemist.
10 seconds remaining.
Would be interesting to see a mid Alchemist here if they're assuming that OD will be the mid hero for Fnatic. I think OD and Alchemist, it's an interesting matchup. Alchemist can sort of do alright. The Acid Spray does help him zone out OD a little bit, but he still can't stand toe-to-toe with him. Sort of like the Dragon Knight. Hard for OD to secure a kill, and Alchemist can pick up a bit of farm, but still not really a great lane against the OD. Difficult for really any melee hero, even if they're not in. The scary part is when OD hits 6 in particular. They can sort of hold their ground until level 5, and then once OD hits 6, that level 3 Astral, if he has at least 2 or 3 stacks up, it's rough. Their in is just so low that the ult just obliterates them. Now we will see Fnatic ban out the Mirana final ban. Kind of an interesting choice here. I'm not sure that Sigma would have grabbed the Mirana last, given that they already have a Gyro. I guess they could have set up a duo lane here, Gyro Abaddon and Bane Mirana. Going to be intrigued to see what Sigma do grab with this final pick here. Same goes for Fnatic. Lich going to be the final ban from Sigma. Not a bad choice, but I don't know that Fnatic were too interested in grabbing the Lich. Not a hero that Fnatic tend to utilize too often. He's not really into their playstyle. Certainly a powerful pick.
5 seconds remaining.
But we'll see what Fnatic want to do. I still think Lion is going to be a good choice. No, they are going to go for the Enigma. Okay. I was thinking that perhaps they'll want to grab a jungler with Enchantress banned out, and they are going to go for the Enigma. Kind of a greedy pick from Fnatic, though. Enigma, a hero that tends to be snagged when teams feel they're going to have a lot of success in the laning phase. They're not going to need to pull rotations. One of the problems with Enigma, of course, if he is a dedicated jungler, limits what you can do with those lanes. Presumably, they'll have a solo safe lane Bristleback, OD in the... maybe the long lane Bristleback, OD in the mid, then a Slark Visage lane, and Enigma in the jungle. If something goes terribly awry, if Bristleback has a bad time, if they need to pull a rotation, they're not going to have much flexibility. So that is one thing that can be a little bit dangerous about grabbing a 5th pick Enigma. But Sigma will grab Weaver here, so maybe they would have gone for the Mirana after all. Probably going to be a Bane Gyrocopter lane, that Weaver a Baden lane, and then an Alchemist in the mid. That would be my best guess here for Sigma. And we'll see if they do want to switch around a little bit. But of course, Mad going to be on the Bane, and it looks like Fada will indeed be solo mid on that Alchemist. Very interesting. So a Baden Weaver, one of those classic combos. We actually haven't seen it too much as of late. Still very scary. Very similar to that Treant Weaver combo. A similar flavor. Weaver gets that bit of survivability early on, and it allows him to be so much more aggressive in that laning phase. He can dive towers, take those tower shots, and with the Abaddon shield, does that bit of return damage as he hops in with the Shikuchi. Really opens up a powerful duo lane. And I have a good feeling that Sigma will be doing a 2-1-2 here. And I think that's going to be the smart play. They'll have a good duo lane for up top. They'll be able to deal with the duo lane of Fnatic, and then they'll have a 2 versus 1. Again, presumably against the Bristleback, but we'll see. Kind of curious to see if they're going to swap around here. Fnatic are doing this a bit differently than I'd initially thought. Looks like Hani will be mid on the OD. Era actually going to be on the Bristleback, so it very well may be a position 1 Bristleback coming out. But still hard to say. With it paused here, they may opt to swap these heroes around. Trixie on the Slark, that usually means it'll be an off-lane Slark, which we have seen. Again, to varying success. I'm one that isn't really a fan of the off-lane Slark at face value, but it's actually worked quite well for a handful of teams. One of the great things about Slark in the off-lane is, well, maybe he can't pick up too much farm, but he is really hard to lock down. Even before level 6, he does have Pounce as a getaway move. You can use it on the ledges. You can do all sorts of fancy footwork with the Pounce, and can usually keep you pretty safe as long as you don't step too far forward. And conversely, sort of similar to Bristleback, the great thing about Slark in the off-lane is that if they overcommit on him, he can certainly turn around with a Dark Pact, do an absurd amount of damage, and can sometimes burst down those supports, kind of like Bristleback, as we've seen. He does win those 2v1 scenarios every so often. So maybe that's what Fnatic are hoping for here. Hopefully this pause isn't too long, but we'll see. Fnatic with a very greedy lineup here, though. Essentially, they do have 3 carries, especially with Era on that Bristleback. A lot of farm that they're going to need to pull this off. And Fly in the jungle will open up a little bit more lane efficiency, so they might be able to get away with it. Still very risky. Very, very risky. Looks like Hani will be mid. I was thinking perhaps they may try and switch it up. Maybe put Hani in a solo safe lane role and do something really crazy. It's been a long time since I've seen a laning Enigma, but if there's one team to do it, it would be Fnatic. We've seen them do all sorts of crazy stuff in that laning phase if they don't get things the way that they want. Let's take a look at the lanes here for Sigma. Looks like Sachka going to be on the Gyrocopter down here in the bottom lane. He will be joined by Mad playing on his signature Bane. No big surprise about that. In the mid, it will indeed be Fada playing on the Alchemist. Good opening build against an OD. Does have the Stout Shield, 2 Iron Branches, 2 Tangos pooled to him, and a Healing Salve. Up top, it will be Pass on the Abaddon, and he is going to be supporting Miggle on the Weaver. So that 2-1-2 will be coming out. And I like the idea to put the Abaddon Weaver in the long lane. Going to make things a little bit easier for Sigma. Weaver very hard to lock down. I think Weaver was a particularly good pick here for Sigma. Again, another one of these heroes that tends to thrive against teams that don't have a lot of lockdown, not a lot of crowd control. With that Enigma final pick, now they've got that Black Hole. They do have the Malefice for some stun, but still, nothing like a Dragon Tail, nothing like an Unstable Concoction, none of those big stuns that can really lock down a Weaver and prevent him from getting off that time lapse. So I think a really smart pick here from Sigma International. Now let's take a look at our Dire side. We do have Team Fnatic. It looks like it will be Trixie playing on the Slark. Here, going to be in the long lane. In the mid, it will be Hani playing on the Outworld Devourer. No Tail. He's going to be on the Visage here. We'll see where he ends up. Still floating around the mid lane. Fly is on the Enigma. Will deny in the mid. And then head straight into the Dire jungle. And then, of course, we do have Era here on the Bristleback. So it will be a safe lane Bristleback here with the jungle support from Enigma. I still think they're going to be hard-pressed to shut down this Weaver. This really isn't a great 2.5 lane for Fnatic, as I like to call it, with that jungler that can poke into the lane. They might be able to grab a kill or two on the Abaddon early on, but I don't think they'll be able to shut down that Weaver too much. They've got great slow from the Bristleback, but Shikuchi just completely trumps it. See Hani off to a solid start here. For our Radiant side, they've got one on the high ground here. They are going to block this camp. We see the pings coming out from Fnatic. They know that the pull is blocked. They know there's a ward down. Fly will move into the jungle. Looks like his hard camp over here going to be alright, but Pos did do a crafty play. He is invisible and actually did run by and block it. That's why it didn't spawn. It will come here on the next rotation, but still, a cute little play from the Abaddon. Now he's going to rotate up to the top lane here. He's going to go straight on No Tail. Era did actually scale Viscous Nasal Goo level 1. So that slow will make sure No Tail is safe, but going to harbor a little bit of that aggression that Bristleback can put out. It's one of those talking points that we always come back to is, what kind of a build should Bristleback go for? Most importantly, when does he want to level up that Nasal Goo? We rarely see it at level 1. So we'll hold Era back a little bit in these early levels in terms of damage output, but nothing too crazy. See how the mid is faring so far. Alchemist 1-0 against the 5-2 Outworld Devourer. We see the Acid Spray coming down. Followed with a pretty standard opener here, 1-1-0. It's going to be difficult for him, though. This Acid Spray, we see it does a good bit of damage to harass back OD, but not enough to stop Hani from farming, and not really enough to zone him out of the lane. He's going to have plenty of regen here. Now down in the bottom, Trixie going to be in some trouble. Oh, boy. He's going to take a full Rocket Barrage. He's going to survive with just a couple hit points to spare. He is going to tango and salve straight away. Up top, going to see some diving as well. No Tail in a little bit of trouble. Era trying to stand his ground. He does have 1 point in that Quill Spray, but no Bristleback, so needs to be a little bit careful. No Tail trying to find somewhere to go. He's hiding in the trees. Miggle's looking for him, and I think he's going to find him here. Oh, look at that. Era going to come around the back. He's trying to open up the trees. He's going to find it, but unfortunately the slow won't be enough. Again, this top lane. So much slow between those two heroes, but Weaver, the hero, perfectly suited to deal with it. If he didn't have Shikuchi there, I don't know that he would have been able to secure that. No Tail might have been able to make the great escape against most other heroes there. But well played by Sigma. Off to a nice aggressive start. Of course, First Blood does come out to the Weaver. Who better? That is going to be great news here for our Radiant side. And they're going to need it, because this mid lane is definitely going to go the way of Fnatic. So it looks like Sigma will be able to take a victory up here in the top. And then down here in the bottom, of course, Sigma will win this. It is a 2v1 after all. Sachka off to a great start. Almost picking up that early kill onto Trixie. So like I said, Fnatic can have their work cut out for him here. When you grab that Enigma, you're locked into these lanes. So top and bottom are going to be a struggle, and there's nothing Fnatic can do about it. They just have to hold their own, try not to feed too much, soak up whatever farm they can, and wait for Trixie to come online. That's really all they can do here. It will open up a little bit more efficiency for him, which is one good thing. See Trixie taking a little bit of damage here, getting completely harassed out. He is 0-0 actually in last hits, has absolutely nothing. A little bit worried for Fnatic here already, folks. I think I like this Sigma draft a little bit better. Fnatic's greed may prove to bite him in the ass a bit. It's interesting we see, I mean, a lot of that is, of course, the first blood that came out, but still to see Sigma ahead, very interesting, given that Fnatic do have that laning advantage with this the Enigma in the jungle. We have talked about that quite a bit. Having that dedicated jungler, and one of the fastest junglers at that, does open up a lot more room for you in terms of farming efficiency. Enigma actually almost level 5. That good benchmark is to stay on par with the mid heroes, and we see actually Enigma is right on point with the Alchemist. So pretty solid. At least Fnatic are off to a good start on that front. Sigma didn't go too crazy blocking these camps. They really could have made Fly's life a lot more difficult. If they'd gone for some of those sentries, maybe blocked a couple of those spawns. Fly is going to come down and deny that 4-minute rune. Won't let Alchemist grab it. He's going to be forced to crow that bottle. Let's look at the farm up here up top. Era really struggling here. He's only 4-2 against the 18-3 Weaver. Huge disparity in this top lane. So safe to say, Sigma have won top and bottom. It's all about this mid. A lot riding on the back of Hani right now. And he actually is going to go double Null Talisman. So as you can see, he really wants an extra early edge against this Alchemist. Wants to ensure that he has a good laning phase here. 28-13 compared to the 9-1 Alchemist. He's certainly doing that. Perhaps lining up for that ultimate kill. Going to chip away at Fada just a little bit. If he does another insta-steal, could be a little bit scary. You're going to need 2 more insta-steals, actually. But if you have that triple insta-steal at level 3, can make for a pretty easy kill once you actually ding level 6. Hani is going to hit 6 here. It's only 2 insta-steals, but No Tail coming in. There's the slow. Hani, there's the Sanity's Eclipse. That's exactly what I've been talking about. They make the kill happen, but Mad ports in. He is going to make it a 1-for-1. Well played by the Bane. Good timing on that port as well. Does secure the kill on the Outworld Devourer. Not the best execution from Fnatic. I think they were trying to force it a little bit perhaps before the Alchemist hit 6 and grabbed his Chemical Rage, would have made that a little bit more difficult. But that's where OD really shines against those strength heroes in the mid lane, Dragon Knight, Kunkka included. Yeah, you can hold your own, yeah, you can pick up a little bit of farm, but once he hits 6, you are going to be out of intelligence and in big trouble with that Sanity's Eclipse. Seeing a Concoction fly, nice Astral coming out from Hani. Will essentially disjoint it. I guess not technically a disjoint, but stun won't connect. Fly is going to hit level 6 though, so they do have a black hole ready and waiting. He's been pretty quiet in the jungle here. We see Paz sitting at the high ground, perhaps anticipating that he may come over. A smart play, but unfortunately does not reveal the smoke. Fly going to use it. He's going to grab this illusion rune. Fada is going to reveal him though. Very unfortunate for Fly. Good rotation from Fada though. That will ensure his survival. Would have been an easy kill if Fly come in with that black hole. See how's Trixie doing? Trixie's still 0-0 in farm. He's been able to grab a little bit of experience, but oh boy, looking a little bit rough for him here. He's the lowest level in the game, sitting level 4, and his counterpart, the Weaver, sitting 6 up in that top lane. Actually, or sitting 5, pardon me, close to level 6. And Weaver is going to be going for a hand of Midas here. It's about that time where Midas will start to kick in. Oh gosh, sorry, I did miss that one. Trixie is going to get caught in the jungle. Trixie really having a rough game here. 0-0 on this Slark, now going to be 0-1 in hero kills. We talked about how Slark is a snowball hero. The rigidness of this Fnatic laning phase just really working against Trixie. And I don't know how he's going to recover here. This Slark is going to become a liability in this match very quickly here. Now let's look at the Midas count. There is 1 on the side of the Radiant. Of course, Sigma, that is the Weaver. Looks like Gyrocopter will not be grabbing a Midas. He did go phase boots first. Though he has 1,300 in the bank, so could grab a slightly delayed Midas. And actually, if he started working towards it now, he'd have it at a pretty decent timing, given that he went phase boots first. Is because he's been in free farm heaven this entire match. Up top, though, we are going to see some initiation come out from Fnatic. Miggle, going to walk his way through the jungle. Time-lapse back. There are a couple of sentries down. Paz actually going to counter that lane ward there. Still a sentry down for Fnatic, so Miggle needs to be a little careful, but they will escape the gank. Well done. Fly only level 7. Still yet to do anything. Other than farm, that is. Both of his attempted ganks have been completely thwarted by Sigma. So that is definitely great news. Let's take a glance at these graphs here, and oh man, Sigma up by about 1,200 gold. Somewhere about 1,000 experience. Pardon me, 7,500. 7,500. 750 experience. Wow, I'm all over the place with those numbers this morning. Jeez. So a sizable lead for Sigma. Again, you can't underestimate the edge that having an Enigma gives you. That just shows how much better Sigma have gotten out of this laning phase. Paris in particular, he is really doing well down here. He is a force to be reckoned with already, and that is a scary precedent. Between him and the Weaver and this Alchemist, it's going to be rough. Alchemist hasn't picked up a huge amount of farm yet, but he is still doing okay. 9-1. I think Fun is doing about as well as he can against an OD here in the mid. I suppose Sigma could have pulled some rotations to try and pressure that OD, but they've been winning these other 2 lanes so hard that it doesn't even really seem worth it. I think they'll be fine to sacrifice that Alchemist. The hero on their team who will be able to make the best recovery farm complements that Greevil's Greed. He's the best one to be underfarmed at the moment. Up top, though, Era going to be in big trouble. They're going to wrap around. Alchemist did port up. Yeah, that's a concoction. That is one dead Era. Nothing he can do about it. Down bottom. That tier 1 tower taking a little bit of heavy pressure. That was sort of an oxymoron. A little bit of heavy pressure. It's either little or it's heavy. This tower going to take a bit of pressure. How's that? That looks like it may fall. Call down going to come. That'll clear up some of this creep wave. Trixie not going to get hit by it. Fly will port down though. Looking for a black hole opening. Not going to find it. Sigma will retreat in time. And all the while that does draw the attention of Fnatic to the bottom. Sigma will be able to clear out that top tier 1 tower. He's going to be 4-1 here as we approach that 10-minute mark. And first tower kill will go the way of Sigma. Already a sizable lead here for our Radiant team. Bottom tier 1 will get denied by Fnatic. Still going to further that gold lead of Sigma just a little bit here. But not bad to secure a deny. Making that port from Fly, I guess, worth it a bit. Really getting nervous for Fnatic here, though. They've got an Alchemist on the side of Sigma. They've got the only Midas on the side of Sigma, and already their 2 carries are leading the way on that net worth chart by a big margin. Again, Hani is kind of the saving grace here for Fnatic. Fly's farm is pretty solid, but it's only an Enigma. That's not one of the heroes that you need the farm on. Both Bristleback and Slark are just so low on the net worth. I think Sigma are getting close to just snowballing out of control here. And this is one of Sigma's signature tactics. They love to draft just a powerful laning phase and get that edge. And then just transition into the mid game with some snowball. Here in the mid, Hani going to be in big trouble. We'll get off of Sanity's Eclipse. Not going to be a lot of damage. Hani destined to fall. Support coming in, though. Fiend's Grip going to be used on Fly straight away. He's got a Black Hole ready. Will they be able to finish him off? No, they won't. Yes, they will. The Black Hole goes off, but gets interrupted right away as that last bit of damage finishes him off. Going to be a 2-for-0 already, and it's not over yet. Era now going to get put in the Nightmare. No Tail going to fall as well as Weaver pursues. That's going to be a 4-for-0 here in the mid lane. Oh, no. This could be a quick game 1 here, folks. Sigma looking on point. An easy array of kills right there. Fnatic had the right idea with that rotation, but right now they're already so underfarmed. Look at this net worth chart. Just look at it. Would you just look at it? I don't even need to say anything. You can just look at it. Jeez. The 2 carries of Sigma both doubling the leading farmer of Fnatic here at the 11.5 minute mark. Such a greedy roster from Fnatic. I mean, Slark has literally nothing. He is 4-0 in last hits. He's on par with the Abaddon on the other team. He's got Boots of Speed, Stout Shield, and Orb of Venom. I mean, he has basically nothing. Trixie brings nothing to the table here. Finally hitting level 6, but the game's almost over by the time he hits level 6. Gyrocopter does have that first Mithril Hammer. Probably going to be a BKB. Could also... Well, yeah, probably just going to be a BKB. Oh, man. Fnatic really in big trouble here, folks. And I'm trying to think to myself, what can Fnatic do at this point? What can they do to turn this around? I mean, look at this graph. It's already a 7,500 gold deficit. Experience graph comparable here, right around 4,500. That's really scary for only 12 minutes into this match. 8-1. At best, I guess they can hope to turtle up. They do have the abilities to make big plays here. I mean, they do have Black Hole, but it's such a long cooldown. So much riding on the back of Fly to secure those big Black Holes. Abaddon gonna poke up here, but he is level 7, does have borrowed time. Gonna be just fine. Item progression starting to happen for our Radiant side. Fada's now got a mech. They'll engage on him in the mid, but he's gonna get an Aphotic Shield. Will pop the Chemical Rage, still has the mech. He's just gonna turn around. He wants to fight. There is a mech on the side of Fnatic, so they're getting a little bit of item progression themselves. It will be the first core item on the way of Hani. Actually, their only core item so far. Long range concoction gonna fly, will connect with Hani. He does have an Astral up, but doesn't matter. Gonna kill him in the duration of the stun. Free kill on the leading farmer of Fnatic. There's the Fiend's Grip onto No Tail. Will be enough to secure the kill. It does get interrupted as Trixie goes in, but look at that healing support onto Bane. Trixie gonna be forced to commit here, and he's gonna be in big trouble. Will get the ultimate off, so he will buy himself some time. Gonna try and pursue onto the Alchemist, but Era, he's gonna get converged on. Fada's still gonna be able to survive. Now Paris gonna come in. Weaver did get taken out by Slark on the back end. But still, going to be a very convincing team fight for Sigma. Going to be another 1-for-4 exchange as things start to settle down. Oh, no. Oh, Trixie! What are you thinking, pal? Going to hop back in. That was just a misplay from Trixie. That was a pound straight forward. Oh, boy. It just keeps getting worse and worse here, folks. Adding insult to injury at this point. Now Alchemist actually taking over the farm of the OD. And, of course, the Gyro and the Weaver just getting even worse. Oh, man. This is not the Fnatic we're used to seeing. You just can't draft these super greedy lineups against Sigma. That's what they do. They take an edge in the laning phase. They one-up it. They carry that momentum, and they just continue to assault once they get a little bit ahead, and just try and further that lead. That is the basis of the Sigma strategy. And Fnatic just didn't draft appropriately to handle that. They drafted weak lanes. They didn't draft enough control. Yeah, Visage Bristleback is a great lane in most cases. You've got a lot of slow, you can pack a punch, but not against a Weaver. He is the absolute best hero to put up against that duo. Abaddon Weaver at that. You can cleanse the slows with the Aphotic Shield, let Weaver man up into the towers, dive in on that Bristleback. And also Bristle, putting that first point in the nasal goo, I don't know about that. But oh boy. It is going to be a BKB coming out on the Gyro. He does have a Drum of Endurance already. Actually has the recipe for the BKB as well as that Mithril Hammer. So just about 600 off that Ogre Club, and we will have a BKB Gyrocopter here pretty early on in this match. Weaver's Midas starting to pay off a little bit as well. He's grabbed himself a Perseverance now, as well as his Power Treads. Also has that Ring of Aquila, another 1,000 in the bank. No doubt going to be pulling up for that Lincoln's. Not the best item against a Bristleback, but still core on Weaver nonetheless. I think undoubtedly what he's going for here. Still just no item progression on the side of Fnatic. This graph looking even worse now. 10,000 gold, 8,000 experience. Looks like we could see an engage here coming in. Miggle needs to be a little bit careful. They will throw down a sentry. There's a black hole burned on the solo Weaver. Will the follow-up be there, though? Visage going to fall. Miggle actually going to survive. He's going to time-lapse, going to get picked right back up. Now Fly going to fall. Hani and Era going to be in big trouble. That homing missile will connect with Era. Concoction charging. Hani definitely going to fall here. No way around it. Era going to be in big trouble. Now Trixie, the lone survivor. And he's got nothing. He's going to turn with the ultimate. Of course, he is undetectable here. Going to be okay. Will leash with the pounce. But another 4-0, 17-2. Really didn't think we'd have this one-sided of a match here, guys. This is just bad news bears all around for Fnatic. We're about at that point where I think they could tap out. I don't think Fnatic can bring this back. We're at that point of no return. There it is. GG. Holy Toledo, folks. 16 minutes. Sigma looking on fire. On fire? I just don't understand. What was Fnatic thinking with that draft? Oh boy, that was just... You just can't draft that greedy against Sigma. You just can't do it. This is what happens if you try. That Enigma final pick, they needed control, but they should have drafted some control into their lineup earlier on. Great drafting from Sigma, great bans. They banned out the heroes that Fnatic tend to rely on. First ban, Enchantress and Crystal Maiden, two great heroes that bring a lot of control to the table. Of course, Enchantress, when she grabs the Centaurs, grabs the Hellbears. And Crystal Maiden, oh boy, does she have control. Cheese and crackers. I'm dumbfounded. I am frankly dumbfounded. I thought this was going to be an epic, really close match, maybe a base race game one. And it was the most one-sided match we'll see all day, I think. 16-minute victory for Sigma International. Very well played. Now to review, that will take Sigma 12-4. That will tie them for first place with Na'Vi, who are also 12-4. That will now take Fnatic to 10-4. And if they win this next game coming up against the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they will be 11-4 themselves. And it will be all tied up for that 3rd/4th place spot with rox.kis. Very interesting game, folks. We are going to have an extended break here, about 25 minutes or so, until our next game gets underway. But it will be Fnatic versus Power Rangers. We'll see if Fnatic can redeem themselves after that hard loss. Stay with us, guys. I am Zaiori, solo casting today. We're here on Beyond the Summit for Starladder Season 8, Day 26 coverage. Thank you for joining us. Dota 2 action resumes, well, pretty quickly here, about 25 minutes.